So, khulekani, thank you so much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But before we go into the future, can you please tell us a little bit about your background? Where did you grow up?
Okay. Good morning, Nick, and thank you for the opportunity. So I grew up in a small town of Jozini on the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal, which is essentially closer to the border of Mozambique and also closer to the border of Eswatini. So that's the region where I grew up. You are on mute, Nick.
Sorry, yeah. I said, khulekani, did you have a dream career when you grew up?
I did actually. My dream career was to be an electrician. And how this came about, I didn't know anything about electricity engineering, or anything like that. Growing up in a region that was like far from everything, in fact, had not seen electricity, did not have electricity at home or anywhere. But the thing that made me want to be an electrician is that our village was sort of along the road to two other places. One was a regional hospital called in Ingwavuma, and then the other one was another hospital in Manguzi. So we would often see these trucks, Eskom trucks, back in the sort of maybe late 70s, early 80s, these Eskom trucks going past our village, and we were told that they're going to fix electricity in these two hospitals. This often happened when there's been a storm or anything like that. They came from far away, so from far away towns, 200 kilometers away. So I thought this must be a very important job. You have to kind of drive these many hundreds of kilometers to be the only one who can fix this thing. So it must be a really cool thing to do. So that was my dream career. And then, of course, not all dreams come true.
Yeah. So, khulekani, who inspired you in your early days?
I would say many people inspired me, but more importantly, contributed to my career in different ways. Three people stand out for completely different reasons. So the first one was my primary school teacher, who I cannot remember her first name, but she was Miss Kumete. That's what I remember to this day. Now, she had, so I had been expelled from school because I couldn't pay school fees. My parents couldn't pay school fees. So I'd been expelled from school, sort of sitting at home, doing nothing, heading cattle, but 2 weeks of not turning up to school. This woman walked through the gates of our home, asked my parents, in fact, was my elder sister, if she could pay the school fees on my behalf so I could return to school. She said that I wasn't the kind of kid who must wallow around and do nothing. I had a lot of potential. And sister, who was sort of my parent, elder sister, agreed, paid my school fees, and I returned to school. So that's one person who kind of had an impact. I kept on asking myself many years later, what did she see to kind of make that sacrifice? By the way, the school fees were 2 rand at the time. The second, then there are two other gentlemen who also had an impact in my career. They both work for an NGO, education NGO in Durban. One was the regional director and the other was the national director of the same NGO. It was Ian Mkhize, who is no longer with us, may his soul rest in peace. And the other one was David Enzo, who now lives in Australia. So I came looking for a job. At the point, I didn't even have a degree. They granted me an interview. And after the interview, they said, well, you know, you don't quite meet the requirements for working here, but we'll see what we can do. And both of them then spoke to me separately, and they said, you know, there's something about you that we see. We think that you're worth giving a chance to. So they gave me a chance and gave me a job. And both of them said something in different words, that we think that one day you will be an important person. So again, you know, to me, it was just like, okay, you know, these people are just trying to encourage me, appreciate it, but, you know, so clearly they saw something in me that I did not see in myself, and they believed in me and encouraged me to learn and complete my university studies, etc. And so whenever it gets hard, I sort of remember these three people, that they saw something in me that I did not see in myself. And that, I think, has inspired me throughout.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And Khulekani, what would you say is driving you today?
I think two things. And, you know, growing up in a rural village, like really sort of very little by way of resources, I saw and still do see what poverty can do to people. So to me, firstly, the fear of poverty and the desire to do everything possible to fight poverty, to end poverty, to create wealth and opportunity is something that drives me, because I know from my own situation that it takes somebody else to really help you to be able to escape. So that drives me. But also, as part of that, it is about doing something that is really significant. So, you know, success is one thing, but to do something significant is really what drives me.
Thank you. Now, looking into the future, Khulekani, and I know it's a big question, but what does the future of leadership mean to you?
Well, firstly, I consider leadership to be a massive opportunity and a privilege to serve. It's not a right. And so, because of that perspective that I hold, I always think that, you know, when you are in leadership, certainly in my case, I always try to improve the situation around me, try to create opportunities for other people, and try to make an impact in the things that I do and the environments that I am exposed to. So to me, that is, I think, the future of leadership is we need leaders who are less concerned about themselves, who are less concerned about, you know, all of these sort of flashy material things, but who want to make an impact.
Thank you. Now, Khulekani, in your opinion, what is it we have to do to develop more future leaders, more future-minded leaders?
So, firstly, I think that, you know, I'm not going to go into the age-old debate of whether leaders are born or made, but I think that, and I know this from my own experience, that, you know, education plays a huge role in leadership. And by education, yes, I mean getting the university qualifications and all of that, ticking those boxes, but also education in leadership. To be educated about being a leader, being an ethical leader, a leader who leads from the heart, a leader who's concerned about the environment, a leader who's concerned about the future, a leader who knows that, you know, they have a role to play to improve the situation they find. So to me, that is important. And so that kind of education is important. Educating leaders is an absolutely essential. People today get given positions, you become a manager, and you meet your targets, and then you get promoted, etc. And then until you find yourself having to really take decisions, bigger decisions. But without good leadership, education, and support and mentorship, I think you would be a leader that is incomplete.
Thank you. Now, Khulekani, these are challenging times as the world is stumbling from one crisis into the next. What is your advice for future leaders in terms of challenges? What are some of the biggest challenges they should expect to encounter and hopefully overcome in their career?
So I think that we live in a very fast changing world where there is a lot of information, a lot of uncertainty, etc. In the first instance, I think there will be moral dilemmas and hard decisions to be made in going forward. But that I think leaders should have their true north that guides them to make the right decisions. And their true north, everybody's true north will not be the same as the other. But having something that always keeps you focused is absolutely important, because without that, chances are you're going to be pushed in all sorts of directions and miss the real important things that you need. So the challenge is to stay true to what you believe in.
Thank you. Now, Khulekani, if you were to design a curriculum for future leaders, what are maybe one or two key skills you would want to factor in?
Having said that, current leaders, there's a lot of information around at any given time, and that you have to really try to sift through and word through wads of information to make a decision, and do so also timely, because unlike before, where perhaps waiting a day longer would allow you to see things you couldn't see initially and make a better informed decision, in this time, the more information that you have, the more confusing the situation is. So being able to actually have the skill to wade through a lot of information and make the right decision is an incredible skill that I think leaders need to learn. So that's one. The second thing is that what would help leaders do operate in this environment is to be ethical. Now, being ethical is a word that gets thrown around quite a bit. What I believe in is that it is a behavior pattern where in every situation you're faced with taking the right or the wrong. If you teach yourself consistently to take the right decision, you teach yourself consistently to stay on the right side of the law and to stay on the right side of ethics. So when faced with paying a bribe to a cop so you can get away and continue with what you're doing, vis-a-vis all of the schlep of having to then pay a fine or whatever the consequences are, teaching yourself and making a decision very early on that you will stick to the right, doing the right thing is an absolutely important skill that a leader, and once you've mastered that, it helps you through many, many things. Cutting corners is definitely going to land you in a serious trouble as a leader.
Now, Khulekani, as a mentor to future leaders, can you maybe share a success story where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
So I have not had a person that I can point to and say I mentored this person. what my approach is to mentorship is to really treat every leadership role that I'm given as an opportunity to mentor, to lead in a way and do so deliberately, to lead in a way that has lessons for others. And so while I do not have the privilege to rattle names of people that I've mentored, but it was always heartening to meet people who say, hey, you remember me, we used to work together. You said something that has stayed with me, et cetera, et cetera. And so that to me is something that is absolutely important, because I think we make a much bigger impact if we are deliberate about the fact that here I am given an opportunity to lead, let me use it to impact others.
Thank you. And Khulekani, looking back over your own leadership career, are there any role models of leadership that you encountered and maybe worked with that you would recommend future leaders should learn from?
I would say that this really depends on what you aspire to do as a person. I mean, of course, I would, and I'm not talking about myself at this moment, but I would say that for people who are sort of in the sporting world, would have people that they look up to, whether it's Sia Kolisi, Makayantini, Clive Barker, Gerda Stein. These are people who have done outstanding things. And there's always something to learn about how people rise to the top. And so in my own career, I obviously have grown up being inspired by those who led our struggle for liberation, their resolve, their spirit to fight, and their commitment to justice has been one of the things that stayed with me. And so I would say to people that you clearly in this leadership position will find yourself aspiring to something, and there will be people before you. In business, there will be the likes of Sam Mutsunyane, the Black leaders who have left legacies behind, the likes of Maponya, Ruel Koza, etc. There will always be somebody in your field who's done some amazing things, and the important thing is to learn. And I cannot emphasize more the importance of reading as a leader. Read, read, read.
Well, that's why they say leaders are readers, right? So, so Khulekani, how can our listeners connect with you, and where should they follow you?
Look, I'm not very sort of prolific in sort of social media. I have a Facebook account which I post things on every now and then. Also have a LinkedIn account. I write opinion pieces from time to time that are published in sort of the major publications. Some of those are in my official capacity, and some of them are in my personal capacity. So yeah, those would probably be, whenever I've written something, I try to post it on some of these social media platforms as well, so people who may not have seen them can at least follow that.
All right. And last but not least, Khulekani, what is your message to the millions of learners out there who are looking to finish school, start a career? What is maybe one success factor they should keep in mind?
I mean, this sounds like a cliche, but I've never seen any successful person who does not work hard. Work hard and work harder than the rest. And that allows you to really rise to the top. Because let's face it, if you are in a sort of in an undergraduate degree, finishing an undergraduate degree, in any given year, you're finishing your degree with 1,000 other people who've been doing the same degree. So something has to stand you out from those. And so your work ethic and working hard is going to be the first thing that makes you get recognized. And then you can build on that other things that really make you an effective leader going forward.
Well, Khulekani, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom into the future of leadership and reminding us that leaders are readers.
Thanks, Nick.